Well, another night and another game where the fake Warrior fans, who used to be Laker fans, fill Moda Center and cheer for Steph Curry like he was Bill Walton in 1977. It's despicable, I'm going to be honest with you, and it's pretty annoying, but that's the way the NBA works when you have big-time stars that come into town. Really an entertaining basketball game for roughly about 3.5 quarters, and then all of a sudden the bottom fell out there in the fourth quarter when the Trailblazers began to cough it up, turn it over, and they really didn't have any fluidity on offense, and the Warriors took full control. I was just looking at the numbers to make sure it was correct, but in that fourth quarter, the Trailblazers committed 6 turnovers, leading to 11 points for the Warriors, and Golden State had a 16-1 run where they took control of the game, and the Blazers went over 6 minutes, nearly 6.5 minutes without a field goal, and the game is over. That is that. And you got the Warriors on a night where Steph Curry had a good all-around game, but in the end, he did not shoot the ball particularly well, and it allowed Portland to be in a position to win that game. And that's why it's so frustrating to have the mistakes, the turnovers, and the rest of those issues pop up late in the game. Curry tonight finished with 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists, but he was just 8 of 22 from the floor and only 5 of 16 from downtown. The Warriors 12 of 35 from 3, and the Trailblazers 8 of 34. And, I think tonight was, if you look at the game, there were a number of promising signs for the youngsters who are on the floor. Just like we saw in the game on Tuesday, Scoot had moments of brilliance with his playmaking, with his ball handling, with the way he was initiating the offense, and then he also had some, maddening moments. I thought the inbound pass that got stolen away, it was kind of lackadaisical, and he lost focus for a moment, wasn't sharp, and that was a possession after a Blazer timeout where they needed to get a bucket, and he lobs it in, it gets taken away, and the Warriors continue their run. But tonight, I thought Scoot had moments of brilliance, 18 points and 12 assists. He had 9 turnovers tonight. He had 8 in the game on Tuesday against New Orleans. I do like the way Chris Murray played tonight. Didn't shoot particularly well, 4 of 12, just 1 of 7 from downtown, but a good all-around game, 14 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists. He showed some toughness. Once again, the willingness to put the ball on the floor and attack the rim, which was there. So some good moments from Chris Murray. Jabari Walker, another tough performance. He had 17 points and 16 rebounds. He was huge in the third quarter. And tonight, DeAndre Ayton, more of what we've seen from him, 25 points, 11 rebounds. He started the game 0 for 5, was having a hard time finding the mark, and then he started to get things going with the offense. Chad Doing here, fifth quarter on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio, 80 down, and 2 more games to go. Second of a back-to-back tomorrow night with the Houston Rockets in town, tip-off at 7. And then Sunday in Sacramento to finish out the season against the Kings. That game will tip off at 12:30. So a little recap on how things went down tonight. Warriors get the win 100-92. They grabbed an early 8-7 lead with about 7:13 to play in the first, but the Blazers responded a 10-2 run, and they took a 17-10 lead. Scoot Henderson with 5 points during that stretch. The Warriors got threes from Jonathan Kuminga and Steph Curry, powering a 14-2 run, which gave Golden State a 5-point advantage at 24-19, 41 seconds to play in the quarter. Ashton Hagans would connect on a 3. The Warriors led 24-22 after 1. Scoot led all scorers with 10 in the first. Curry had 8 for the Warriors. Neither team was able to create separation in the second quarter. The Warriors held a 40-38 lead with 2:53 to play in the half. A 7-0 Warriors run gave them a 4-point lead at 42-38, but DeAndre Ayton stopped the run with an and one to cut the Warriors' lead to 1, and they led by 3 at the half, 49-46. DeAndre Ayton scored 11 of his game-high 15 points in the first half in that second quarter. Scoot Henderson with 12 points and 6 assists in the first half. Scoot terrific in the first half tonight, similar to what we saw in the game Tuesday against New Orleans. Portland opened the third on a 14-8 run and took a 60-57 lead with 7 minutes to play in the period. Ayton and Walker each had 4 during that stretch. A 10-6 Warriors push put Golden State back on top by 1 at 67-66. And then Steve Kerr elected to call time. 3:11 left in the quarter, and the Warriors led 75-74. at the end of 3. Jabari Walker with 11 points and 6 rebounds in the quarter. He was a monster. Scoot had 18 points, 11 assists after 3, and Ayton at that point 19 points and 10 rebounds. Portland opened the fourth on an 11-4 run and took an 85-79 lead at the 9-minute mark. That was finished off by a Chris Murray 3, and at that point I was like, man, Portland's going to win this game. Curry's not finding the mark. The Blazers are in a good flow. And then all of a sudden a Warriors 8-1 spurt gave them a 1-point lead at 87-66 or 87-86 with 5:06 remaining. The Trailblazers experienced a drought. They went 4 minutes without a field goal during that Warriors run. Golden State extended their run to 13-1 thanks to a Curry 3, which pushed their lead to 6 at 92-86. Chauncey Billups called time with 3:09 remaining. And then after a Blazers timeout, Pajinski got an and one to push the Warriors lead to 9 and push their run to 16-1. And that is your ball game. Portland never recovered after that. And the real bugaboo was that fourth quarter of play where the Trailblazers went 6.5 minutes without a field goal, and they turned it over 6 times, which led to 11 points for the Warriors. And that's very unfortunate because tonight, Portland, they finished tonight with 13 turnovers, leading to 14 points for the Warriors, but most of that damage coming in the fourth quarter. Wow. So there you go. And that's the, that's what championship teams do. That's what veteran teams do. They can, if you let them hang around, if you give them opportunities, they find ways to cash in. And I thought that's what Golden State did tonight. They cashed in. But as I mentioned before, I'm not too worried about the wins and losses. Really it's all about development. And unfortunately with young players, and the Blazers have plenty of them on the floor tonight, when you have a starting lineup of Chris Murray, Jabari Walker, Ryan Rupert, and Scoot Henderson, youngsters all over the place. And, Chauncey Billups, we'll hear from him later in the program, but that's, part of the process with young players when you go through development is that you've got to deal with and you've got to live with the fact that they're going to have lapses. And we saw that tonight, lapses which are frustrating, lapses which were costly, and I would imagine Scoot Henderson is going to have a tough night tonight trying to get to sleep because he's going to know that, some of his decision-making, which led to turnovers or poor possessions, proved costly in a situation where the Blazers were up 6 with about 9 minutes to play, and they had the opportunity to go out there and take, control of the game and win. But they couldn't execute and get the job done, and the Warriors able to cash in on the Trailblazer mistakes, and they go on to get the victory by 8, 100-92. All right, your telephone number is 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. You can jump on board. I'd like to hear your voice. And we'll keep things rolling here on the program. When we come back, we'll give you the shot of the night, and we'll continue to break it down as the Warriors get the win tonight here at Moda Center, 100-92. Portland's back at it tomorrow night. Houston in town, tip at 7. I'll have game day at 4:30. And then, of course, Sunday we finish out the regular season in Sacramento against the Kings with a 12:30 tip. It's the fifth quarter. Chad doing live from Moda Center here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Hagans will walk it up with 9:25 to play. Reith bounce pass back up top for Hagans. Hagans slides into the corner for Murray. Tax backs it up back to Hagans. In front of Wiggins, dribbles to the top of the key. He trips, loses the ball, gets it back, finds Murray. Murray with 5 to shoot. Ball fake, open 3. Buries it. Chris Murray from downtown. And the Blazers match their largest lead of 6. 14 for Murray. It's 85-79. 3 minutes gone by in the fourth quarter.
All right, checking the NBA scoreboard. Light night in the association with the busy days on the schedule tomorrow and Sunday. A final in Detroit. The Chicago Bulls top the Detroit Pistons 127-105. DeMar DeRozan had 39.7 assists and 3 steals. In Boston, the Knicks over the Celtics 118-109. Brunson with 39 points. In Utah, the Jazz clipped the Rockets 124-121. And in Sacramento, the Pelicans topped the Kings 135-123. 31.7 assists for C.J. McCollum. De'Aaron Fox in the loss, 33 points and 8 assists. And tonight here at Moda Center, the Warriors over the Trailblazers by a final score of 100-92. And as I mentioned, a well-played game by Portland, a entertaining game for about 3.5 quarters. But the issue came in the fourth when the Blazers committed 6 turnovers. They went over 6 minutes without a field goal, and the Warriors used a 16-1 run to put the game away. Let's go out to the phones. Let's head to Northeast. Dan is out there. Dan, long time no chat. What's up, man? Fire away.
Chad, I try to come in here with
Dan the man. What's going on? Fire away.
Yo, can you not hear me? Hello?
I can now. What's up, buddy? Go ahead. Fire away, Dan. Well, Shacker, see what you can do. We got to talk to Dan. He's a good one right there. Dan in Northeast. Telephone number here in the fifth quarter is 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number if you want to join me and share your thoughts on the game tonight. I'd be curious to know what you think about, some of the young Trailblazers tonight. Scoot Henderson, 18 points and 12 assists. Sensational in the first half. Had his struggles there in the fourth quarter. Dan, Southeast, what's up, man? Fire away.
Hey, Chad. Sorry about that. I try to come in here, whether we win or we lose, or regardless of the team's fortunes, I try to come in with a positive spin. I'm very much a glass half full guy when it comes to the Blazers, but man, this is rough. And I guess if there's a message tonight, I'm not a I told you so guy by nature, but attention everybody who was like, and I get some rope here because this is the first unapologetically negative or pessimistic Blazers call I've made in a while. But attention everybody who all last offseason and previous season was clamoring to trade Dame. We need to blow it up. We need to trade Dame. We need to start over. It's not working. We need to just tear down and rebuild stuff. Yeah, there's a case for that. You like this? Because this is what it is, man. Like, if you think this team is going to be significantly better next season, well, probably not. Like, I feel like there's a tendency to be so eager for change that in any pursuit, whether it's sports or anything else, you don't always – I'm not sold that everybody considered the consequences of blowing up this team. That doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing to do. Doesn't mean Dame didn't have to go. I get that. But – I'm just so cranky over this season. Here I am watching this game, and I'm like, gosh, I hope we lose so we get a better pick. Oh, no, wait. I want us to win so that the Dubs lose so that we get a marginally less crappy pick from them in this unspectacular draft. The whole thing just stinks, man. I can already see this playing out. I think it's likely that they will pin this on Chauncey next season if we don't come roaring out of the gates or don't show significant improvement, which I'm not sold that we will. This is a dangerous time for this franchise. Like, how confident is everybody that that the makeup of the team was what is holding this franchise back from greatness? And it's not just apathy on the part of ownership or just a lack of commitment to winning. I don't know that's the case, but that's the thing. I don't know that's the case. Can't you see a situation where next season we're floundering around at last in the division? we fire the coach to do something, and we get some former assistant coach with no track record of coaching, not necessarily a step forward for the team. This is how teams become like stuck in the bottom middle. This is how you become a team like the Kings were for so long. Yeah, they sell some tickets, and unfortunately, since ownership's been so completely freaking checked out in terms of confirming their commitment with winning, connecting with the fans, sending a message that they want this team pointing in the right direction, I haven't heard anything like that in I don't know how many years. So maybe they're just content to let the ticket revenue flow in and not care about the direction of this team. But I'm worried about the direction of this team. I've talked positively about Scoot. I've tried to see this rookie season in the best possible light. He's only 20 years old. It'll come with time. Point guard's a tough position to learn, blah, 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 blah. We've talked that over. Dude, he's averaging like 5 turnovers a game in the last 10 games. This is 60 games in for him. He is a below-average three-point shooter. He can play in the NBA. But for a guy that everybody was saying, oh, he'd be the number one pick if it wasn't for Wemby, he's the best point guard prospect to come along and da-da-da. I don't see that necessarily. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but I don't see the evidence. I don't see evidence that DeAndre Ayton is any better than the guy we thought when we were getting him. If we want to call that a victory, that he's not worse than we thought, yay, congrats, pat ourselves on the back. He's a double-double center. He's making a ton of money. He should be. We know what Ant is. We got a bunch of rookies that may or may not develop into viable rotation players. It's a tough time. They are a tough watch, and I'm cranky. So sorry to drop that, but
well, Dan, don't go anywhere yet. Well, yeah, don't go anywhere yet, because I was talking with a few people tonight, and I've been thinking about this over the last couple of days. That the real issue is that what might be best for the team long term. I mean, if you're talking about next year, like we know that the draft coming up this year is not good. In fact, the majority of general managers consider it to be one of the weakest drafts ever. So it might be best long term in terms of building, especially with next year's draft, a year from now, being so deep with Cooper Flagg and a number of prospects, 4 or 5 deep are going to be difference makers. It might be best, for the franchise to suffer through another difficult season so they can really put themselves in a position to land one more young super stud to add to this roster. That's the tough part. But you're right. I was also talking to someone the other day, and I made this commitment in my mind. Next time the Trailblazers land a superstar, I'm not going to nitpick the superstar. If he gives me 30 a night, I'm going to be happy with that. I'm not going to nitpick, well, I wish he was a better defender, or I wish he was this or that. No, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it instead of nitpicking the greatness that you have. So I've learned that lesson the hard way.
Yeah, that's a great point. There are worse seasons to be mediocre or downright bad. That's true. Because there is so much daylight between us and obviously in the West, not a lot of teams getting worse. Like this team is so far away from competing for a play-in spot, like a play-in spot. I mean, it's rough, and I have faith in our scouting. I have faith that we'll find some talent in the draft. Just because it's a well below average draft, there's all stars in every draft. It's just a question of who finds them. And I think Portland has objectively been pretty good at getting value wherever they pick. I mean, that's been a consistent strength of the franchise. So I'm optimistic we'll find something good there. But when I talk about a face of the franchise, I don't see Ant. I love Ant. I don't think he can be the best player or maybe even the second best player on a championship contender. Ditto Ayton, obviously, I don't know. It would be nice if we knew about Shaedon, but of course, in this cursed season, we didn't even get to see. We don't even know what we have with some of these guys. We still don't know what Simons and Sharp look like playing 30, 40 minutes a game together consistently. We don't know what Scoot does playing off those three. We just haven't had the opportunity. It just feels like a cursed lost season. And if there's a silver lining, it's that things can only get better. So I'm out.
All right, appreciate it, Dan. Appreciate the phone call, 503-248-0620. And I can understand Dan's frustration, but I think that the franchise, in terms of where they're at with the roster construction, the building, next year's draft is so rich with talent that I think you seriously have to consider taking on one more challenging, difficult season to put yourself in a position to land one more great player. And then from there, then you can really start to put yourself back on the map. Because the reality is, to become a great team in the NBA, especially in a smaller market, you've got to draft extremely well. And when you rebuild, this is exactly what it looks like. It takes 2 to 3 years to put it back together and get the type of team that you want. And so I think the Trailblazers need to, look, strongly at experiencing another difficult season so they can give themselves an opportunity to land one of those top guys in the draft next year. And then, boom, then you got the makings of something special to where you can start to piece it back together like we saw in Oklahoma City, like we've seen in Orlando and other places. I mean, no one likes the answer, but that's the right thing to do, to put yourself in a position to finally get back in a spot where you can compete and have a roster that with time can be one of the best. Let's go back out to the phones. Sean and Sandy's out there. Sean, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the fifth quarter. Fire away.
That was glass half full. That sounded like somebody spilling drinks around. I think this has been a great year. Who thought we were going to win this game today? I mean, with all these youngsters, and we barely even got enough players to even fill a roster. We've used 40 different lineups. We're starting all rookies for a few games. I mean, this has just been. I hope Chauncey doesn't get the wrath for this, because he's been doing a great coaching job. I'm so impressed with what he's doing, coaching the players up. I think next year is going to be so much better. Injuries are terrible in the NBA. I tell people a lot of times it's last man standing. Look what's going on with Milwaukee with Giannis going down. I mean, you guys got to realize, you got one or two of your guys go down, or even a few role players, key players. Look at what Jabari's doing. What a monster. 57th draft pick. I mean, we're just killing it, and we're doing great. I love what's happening. In 5 years from now, we're going to be one of the best teams in the NBA. Mock my words, brother. Have a great day. Let's be positive, everybody. I know this has been a terrible year, a lot of losses, but they've all been pretty good games. They're all playing great defense. We're totally changing the culture here. We got a culture of defense and rebounding. And that's the way old school Blazers used to be. It's hustle. I want to see the hustle board. I love it, brother. I'm stoked. I've never been so excited since the year we got Greg Oden. I'm just being hopeful and positive, brother. I'm so thankful. Have a great day. I love what you guys do. Have a great day.
All right, appreciate it. There's Sean and Sandy. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Warriors over the Trailblazers tonight, 100-92. We'll come back and we'll step inside the Scoot, and we'll take a look at Scoot Henderson and his play tonight. A good learning opportunity for him, and he's got to get some short rest and get right back at it again tomorrow with the Rockets in town. Final score tonight from Moda: Warriors over the Trailblazers, 100-92. Chad Doing, you've got the fifth quarter on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Scoot Henderson tonight, really a lot of what we've seen recently. He had 18 points, 12 assists. The majority of that work coming through three quarters. I thought he was terrific in the first half. But the issue with Scoot came in that fourth quarter where he was a turnover machine. The inbound pass after the timeout was horrific, and you could see the pain in Chauncey's face after the game in the press room because he's talking about the turnovers. He knew that was a game that they could have won, and he was referencing Scoot, how he's going to have a tough time sleeping tonight because he's going to realize that, some of those errors proved costly, which prevented Portland from possibly having a chance to win that game. He had 9 turnovers tonight. He had 8 turnovers in the game on Tuesday. From the people I've spoken with, the turnovers for a rookie point guard at age 20 are not that big of a deal because, that's something that will improve with time as they continue to get more playing time, more experience, and, just a better understanding of the floor, how to operate, the spacing, the whole deal. So it'll get better, the turnovers. But it's almost like a necessary process that you have to go through. And, of course, with Scoot, it's going to be more pronounced because he's handling the basketball all the time. So, but I understand what Dan and Northeast was talking about. My concerns with Scoot, this year, I think for everyone, probably the franchise as well, a little alarming that Scoot nowhere near what I think the majority of people thought based on expectation. And so you see that, and then he missed some time with the bone bruise, and then he missed time with the adductor strain. It just has not been the right type of rookie year. But yet, in the middle of all that mess, he's shown some flashes of what he can be. Now, the good news is with Scoot is that no matter who you talk to, he's a guy that likes to work. He's a gym rat, and he loves basketball, and he wants to continue to work. He wants to put in the time, and when you have a young guy that's willing to work hard, that gives you optimism that he can get to where he needs to be. Or as it was put to me tonight, if Scoot doesn't work out in the NBA, it's because he wasn't good enough. It's not going to be because he didn't work hard enough. In other words, he's going to put in the time and work hard. The question is, can he put it all together? One of my big concerns is the shooting percentage, 3-point percentage. What is he hitting? About 31% right now. That's not good enough. He's got to be better than that. And in regards to the shooting percentage, like tonight, 7 of 20 from the floor, 2 of 8 from downtown. And some of those shots weren't even close. He's got to continue to get better, with his footwork and operation in the paint, developing a better runner, better touch. We saw tonight in the first half, where he went up and had that sweet layup where he absorbed the contact, was able to finish at the rim and complete the and one. Absorbing contact and finishing is critical. Dame became elite at that, and that's something that Scoot's going to have to continue to work on. So he's got a lot of work to do, and this is a critical offseason for Scoot Henderson. So my optimism lies in his work ethic, and hopefully that combined with a full offseason, having the experience of that rookie season under your belt, will translate into him taking a major leap from year 1 to year 2. I've talked to a couple other people tonight. Scoot, maybe he's not going to be that number 1 option, meaning he's not going to be a big-time scorer like a Damian Lillard or another point guard of that ilk, Steph Curry. Maybe he's going to be the setup guy. So instead of being your number 1 option, maybe he ends up being the number 2 guy who is a setup guy for the rest of the guys on the floor. And maybe that's how you have to look at Scoot. But 9 turnovers tonight. The Blazers had 6 turnovers in the fourth quarter, which led to 11 points for the Warriors. They were up 85-79 with about 9 minutes to go in the game. And then all of a sudden the turnovers came. They went 6.5 minutes without a field goal. The offense became stagnant, and the Warriors put the game away with a 16-1 run. Just like that. Boom, boom, boom. And, Steph Curry tonight, he didn't shoot the ball well either. 5 of 16 from 3, but, finished stronger in the fourth quarter. He finished with 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let's go out to David in Salem. David, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the 5th quarter. The stage is yours. Fire away.
Hey, Chad, it's good to be with you. I look
Thank
at
you.
this whole Blazers season as a rebuild like everybody else. It is a rebuild, and everybody's auditioning for the future. And there's such a different way of looking at things, like Dan, you called in earlier, and he said he looked at kind of the world as the glass is half full. if you look at the glass as half full, I'm not sure that's overly optimistic or half empty. I'm looking at these players just like, have you ever seen one of those musical talent shows where everybody competes to be the top singer or something like that? And, they all go through all this test to see how good they're going to be. And I know you love music. That's a good analogy because unless everybody's been tested, you never know that if they're going to be able to put them together and be a great team. And if you look at the last two great point guards the Blazers had, Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, they never came in the league as rookies. I think, what was C.J. McCollum? Was he'd been went through 3 years of college or something, and Damian Lillard was maybe a senior. Maybe I got that turned around. They were adults when they came into the league. Scoot Henderson isn't an adult. He's a young man. I don't think he's really ever played on a team for 3 or 4 years where he's had a chance to put it together like if he'd gone to a college, for over a period of time. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. It's obviously there's an advantage for a guy like Dame that goes 4 years of college and then comes out and enters the NBA compared to a 19-year-old who comes out of the G League, which is kind of a gym rat type ball, to all of a sudden going up against NBA guys in the structure of the league, unlike the G League. So there's a big transition. There's no question about it.
Oh, absolutely. And I've spent a lot of time looking at some of these the draft and some of these young players playing on some of these high level college teams, and some of the team ball they play is beautiful to watch. And the NBA doesn't set people up to do that necessarily when they bring in so many different levels of talent. You bring in a 4-year player, then you have somebody coming from the G League or international. You're coming from putting together a group of people from all over the world and from different experiences. And, sometimes it takes, like you say, a couple of years for them to gel as a team. They haven't had that opportunity to do that this year. And I'm looking forward to them improving. I think Scoot Henderson can get better. But, man, remember, you can't compare him to people that have come into the league that had 3 or 4 years of college. You just can't do that. It's not fair to him.
Well, I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for the call, my friend. There's David in Salem. Telephone number 503-248-0620. He's young. He is young, and, he's got a lot of work to do this offseason to get ready for next year. All right, fifth quarter. We got to hear from Chauncey Billups. Let's come back, and we'll hear from Coach following the Blazers' 192 loss tonight to the Warriors. And their next game will come up tomorrow night. The Rockets are in town. Fan Appreciation Night. Tip-off at 7 here from Moda Center. All right, let's take a listen to Coach Billups and really focus in on when he talks about the missed opportunities, the turnovers there in that fourth quarter. The Blazers gave up a 16-1 run. They committed 6 turnovers in the fourth, which led to 11 points. Let's listen to Coach Billups.
Obviously we was tired, playing short, but we turned it over. This game was counted, in the moment of truth. We just too many turnovers. I thought, we did a good job for the most part, most of the game, and we called timeout, drop a play, and so we can't get the ball in bounds. It happened twice, so it's tough to ever win like that. Cardiac cars. I know you got some.
Come on, man. I mean, how do you balance a night like we've had back-to-back nights from Scoop where the playmaking is very real in the first half, and the second half, the adjustments from the opponent and probably some tired legs. When you guys go back and watch film, is that just the communication there, or is there more to it than that?
Well, one is just how you learn. You playing against some really good teams, man. That's seen it all, done it all, and for him, there's so much good to take out of all of these games, and then there's just obviously some teachable moments that we have that we gotta go through, and some of those lessons are painful, and trust me, I know him well. He's gonna be kicking himself all night, knowing there was some big moments, in that fourth quarter, at the end of that fourth quarter, that could have gone a different way, so he's gonna be wanting a few do-overs, but then you got to just turn around and do it again. We play again tomorrow. It's Houston, another good defensive team, another team that, got a lot of veterans, savvy dudes that you got to turn the page real quick in this league, So, yeah, a lot of teachable stuff, not only for him but all of our guys, for real.
Are you seeing those same kind of growth levels, but also some of the detraction stuff with Chris, with Roops?
All of them.
Yeah.
All of them, man. All of them have a lot of the same. Obviously, Scoot's a little more pronounced because he got the ball in his hands and he's kind of controlling the game right now. But yeah, like Chris and Roops and even Barry, all of those guys, they have all of those lapses throughout a game that cost you. You have lapses for a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It cost you against a team like that. So yeah, they all going through the same maturation process. But man, they playing their butts off. They playing hard as hell, and they giving me everything they got, which I love. And they tired as heck, right now. All right.
There you go. There's Coach Billups. You can hear the frustration in his voice. Just going through the process of dealing with young players and coaching and teaching, and then on top of that, just the frustration of a long season with a limited roster with so many guys in and out of the lineup. I fully expect Chauncey Billups to be back and as head coach next year. I do not think the Blazers are going to make a coaching move. I don't think it makes sense to make a coaching move at this point. So I expect Billups back, and I really think, at least for me personally, that the Blazers need to look at another difficult season of development so they can put themselves in a position to once again have access to the top players, not just in this year's draft, but also next year's draft, because next year's draft will have Cooper Flagg and a number of talented players that they could have access to. So, I'm excited about that. Tomorrow, I will be broadcasting the pregame show. I'll be live over at Dr. Jack's. So if you're coming down to the game tomorrow for Fan Appreciation Night, I'll be at Dr. Jack's up until 6 o'clock. I'll be out there from 3 until 6, so please stop by and join us. And then I'll have the fifth quarter here from Moda Center once again tomorrow night following the Trailblazers and Rockets. Your final score tonight from Moda Center, the Golden State Warriors top the Portland Trailblazers 100-92. I appreciate your time. For Michael Shacker, I am Chad Doing. Enjoy the night. We will talk to you tomorrow. perfect. And good work, because I'll get set up over there. We'll do our show from over there, and then the rest is history. And then just a reminder, on Saturday I'll be going in to cut the stuff for game day, and I'll put it all on YChat for you. All right, buddy. Nice work tonight. They're doing a drawing for, and they asked me if